So it's Sunday morning, you wake up and your head is pounding. You have something weighing on you. Maybe it's this deep sensation of your stomach, or maybe you keep on replaying the moments of last night in your head, and you keep thinking, oh, I shouldn't have answered to my partner this way, or I behaved so out of my values last night, and you feel that you broke the promise to yourself of not drinking again. And these phrases start to come up of, oh, I'm such a mess, or I'm broke, or I'm a failure. Does this sound familiar to you? So what if I told you that what you're experiencing right now is not one feeling, but two? You're experiencing shame and guilt. And as human beings, we usually tend to make these two feelings the same. We think that both of them are awful and we really don't want to feel them. But learning the difference between the two can actually help you, can make you understand your choices and align better your values for next time. Dr. Brené Brown has spent years analyzing the difference between shame and guilt. She mentions that the main one would be that guilt is based on actions, while shame is based on identity. So a simple phrase to understand this, it's guilt shows up in, oh, I made a mistake, while shame shows up in, I am the mistake. Guilt is about behavior, while shame is about identity. So think about this. You drink when you promise yourself you wouldn't do it. It could show up two ways of, I made a mistake, I made a choice that doesn't align with my values, or it can also show up in, I'm weak, I'm a failure, I'm broken. So one focuses on what you did, the other one focuses on who you are. So let's dive into guilt first to understand it. Remember that moment when you promised yourself that you wouldn't drink, or that you would just drink one glass, and the next day you wake up and it's like, oh, I drank the whole bottle. It's uncomfortable. That feeling is uncomfortable because you broke a promise to yourself. And that is guilt. What changes everything is that once you understand that guilt is actually very helpful, because it's like this flag of, hey, at that moment you didn't align with your values and your internal compass is not aligned there. So when you stepped away from your values, that's when guilt shows up. So understanding guilt as a way of your body saying like, hey, you're not doing what you believe in, it's very helpful. So the behavioral response to guilt is that you reach out, that you try to connect, that you try to make amends with your partner, or you make, again, the commitment to yourself of, okay, next time I'll handle the situation a little bit better. That's what happens. When guilt is based on behavior, the feeling goes away when you act, when you behave differently and align with your values. So guilt is that little flag that tells us, yeah, this feels uncomfortable, but I get to change. I get to do something better for myself. And once I understand this, I can make the transition from a behavior that didn't align with me to a behavior that aligns better with my values and my principles. But shame, it's a complete different story. But shame operates differently in our bodies. So what shame does is that we don't say, oh, I drank too much. It says, oh, I'm a failure. I'm weak. There's something flawed with me. And it attacks the fundamental of identity and being a human being. So what happens with shame, it doesn't reach for connection. It actually reaches for isolation. So the next morning, you tend to cancel plans with friends. You don't want to talk to them because you feel ashamed. You feel that you are broken. So it actually helps you complete a cycle of, I canceled plans because I'm broken and no one wants to be with me. And then when I cancel the plans, then I say, hey, my friends didn't stay. I knew they would leave. So it perpetuates a cycle of isolation. So, in other words, shame is lived internally. It's an internal experience. It's being completely invested in yourself, in your own perspective, and it's something is wrong with me. I feel alone. I feel disconnected. I feel isolated. I feel unworthy of love. So, here's where this gets dangerous, really, because shame often drives our behaviors. So, when we feel bad about ourselves, we drink to get numb. So we perpetuate the cycle and we wake up feeling this same exact way, and it makes us feel more ashamed. So we reach more for that numbing agent. And here is something that might surprise you. Shame comes often from cultural expectations or society expectations. So, for example, in a woman, it usually shows up in the pressure of being perfect, of being the perfect mother or the perfect partner or a perfect professional or a perfect friend. And once you're in the third glass of wine thinking about this pressure, something hits and it's like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm trying to hold it together, but I'm in my third glass of wine. I'm broken. I can't do this. On men, shame often is lived differently from different expectations. So it's about strength and control and not showing weakness. So when they lose control drinking, that's when shame attacks again. So as you see, it's a cycle. It can perpetuate itself. But here's the truth. These social expectations are not true. They can vary and they vary between decades and societies. So they're really impossible standards. So we need to seek freedom by being human. And how do we become more human? We start connecting. So coming back to guilt, let's think about guilt as our inner wisdom. And it's our signal of, oh, I've gone out of course and I need to come back. So it's our brain way of saying, hey, this doesn't align with you. So let's choose differently next time. Let's make amends and let's connect. So we should see discomfort as something that actually empowers us. So this is where you have to be honest and communicate and seek for connection with others and seek for help, of course. Set boundaries, set a support system, make different choices. But shame, on the other hand, it moves like quicksand. The more you try to fight it, the more you sink. So shame after drinking gets you to drink more, and that numbs that voice, but it creates more shame. So there's that pattern that it's very difficult to break free from. But the main question is, how do we break free from these patterns and these feelings? First, remember, guilt is about what you do and not who you are. Let guilt guide you to make more conscious choices. Approach those honest conversations with the people you care about. So be honest, be truthful, and be more aware of your drinking patterns when you go out. For shame, the most powerful tool is connection. So shame drives you apart and it keeps you silent. So whenever you're feeling that shame and these voices start playing in your head, it's very important that you seek for connection, for empathy, for someone who listens without judgment. And that is something very healing about that person that listens and tells you, hey, me too, I go through this, and that they understand. So it's very important to treat yourself with the same kindness that you would treat a really close friend of yours. So check your internal dialogue and think, instead of I'm a failure, you can say I'm a human. And I am weak to I am learning. Instead of I'm a mess, you can say I messed up and I need to rethink stuff. So it's about the internal dialogue that you have. What would shift if we could distinguish between the voice that says I am messed up and the voice that says, oh, I messed up? And what would change if we use guilt as a guide, as an internal compass, to always keep coming back to our values, to reroute? Let's think about it that way. You're not broken and you're not weak. It takes real bravery to think differently and to act differently and to ask yourself this question. So, understanding the difference between shame and guilt could be an amazing compass for you to handle situations where you committed a mistake, because you're a human. I'm a human. We all are. We're going to make mistakes. But understanding from the part of guilt instead of shame makes a 180-degree change for us. So, hope you enjoyed this video and let us keep connecting.